Hiya, I'm Quenby, my pronouns are they and them. I am a queer, non-binary, pansexual performance artist, writer, activist. I do a lot of weird queer stuff. And today I'm going to be reading you a queer fairy tale I wrote because I think there should be more queer fairy tales in the world. Once there was a town with two girls named Rosie and Gwen. Rosie was the daughter of a proud gentleman and his fine lady wife. Rosie's father loved to collect and tame and breed wild, exotic birds which he kept in cages of exquisite silver. Rosie's mother found her pride and joy in Rosie. She loved to brush her long blonde hair, comb it, tease it, wax it, braid it, and thread beautiful wildflowers into the locks. Gwen's father raised her alone. He was the local blacksmith and he worked long, hard hours to provide for his family. Despite their very different backgrounds, Rosie and Gwen were as close as two friends could be. They loved to go out exploring in the forest, climbing trees, looking in caves, gorging themselves on sweet wild berries, and as the dusk kissed the land behind them, they would run home, muddy and scraped and glowing with joy. While Gwen's father would smile and laugh as she came in, Rosie's mother would scold her over the torn dress, the mud-caked face, the twigs in her hair, and the scraped knees. Yet still Rosie and Gwen remained the very closest of friends. As they grew older, though, they began to spend less and less time apart. Gwen spent more time working around the house, whilst Rosie spent more and more time at home being dressed and groomed and having her ever-growing golden locks teased and combed and curled and braided, and spent her afternoons tending her father's birds, watching the exquisite flashes of blue and silver and green and red as they would flit from perch to perch within their ornate silver cages. As they grew older still, their lives grew ever further apart. Gwen began to work in her father's forge and soon started to earn the respect of the workers as she showed as much skill with hammer and tongs as her father before her. Meanwhile, Rosie continued to tend the birds and groomed her hair and dresses, and as her beauty grew, so too did her renown, and young men from across the land would come to visit her and gift her a rose, a song, a poem they had written in her honour. And as her parents encouraged this, she realised that one day her duty would be to marry one of these young gentlemen. And so, as she smiled and simpered and acted charmed at all they said, her heart grew steadily colder and heavier. And then one day, whilst Rosie was preparing for the suitors who had come to see her that day, she looked in the mirror and she saw the thick golden locks which she had grown and taken pride in had begun to tangle around her arms and her chest and her legs until she was hobbled and bound by them. Thick golden chains which were her bond, her beauty had become her restraint, and she saw the life laid out before her Another one of her father's pretty birds to be tamed and groomed and preened and traded away when the right offer was sent. In a rage, Rosie stormed into her father's study. She picked up a hammer that was on his desk and used it to smash the locks off the beautiful silver cages until the air was filled by the tweets and chirps of the freed exotic birds and the fluttering colour a maelstrom of silver and red and blue and green as they twirled and danced in the air around her. Then Rosie picked up her father's shaving knife and sheared away the thick golden locks which had become her prize and her punishment. She picked up the thick golden locks, cut away from her scalp and her arms and her legs and her chest, and threw the great bundle of hair into the fire. And as the perfumed oils caught and the hair began to burn, the entire room filled with a thick, acrid smoke. Coughing, she threw open the door into the parlour, and the young men who had come to see her ran in fear from the acrid smoke of the burning hair that they had treasured so much, and the tweets and screams of the beautiful exotic birds which were freed. And Rosie ran too, ran from the sharp words hurled by her mother and father and neighbours, and she ran and she cried and she cried and she ran until she ran out of breath for one and tears for the other, and she collapsed to her knees at the fountain in the town square. Sobbing, she knelt at the fountain and scooped water in her hands to wash away the soot and the salt of the tears. As she did so, she saw Gwen walking across the square towards her. Broad of shoulder and thick of arm, her hair cut short, not from a rash decision, but from a practical concern when working in the forge. Suddenly Rosie felt shame that she had not seen her friend in so many years, though she had been in her thoughts almost every day. Shame that she was a broken, wretched creature, while Gwen was a strong, imposing figure. Scared that Gwen would see that shorn of her locks and with smoke and rips in her dress, she would see that there was nothing so special about her. So she hid her face and cried, and hoped that Gwen would walk on past. And then she felt a calloused hand at her shoulder, and it was Gwen come to see her old friend. "Are you okay, Rosie? Do you need somewhere to stay? Do you need some help?" Sobbing again, Rosie looked up at Gwen's eyes and said, "Your kindness is welcome, but I have no beauty. It burned away. I have no heart to offer, for it is torn, and the strength I once had burned with that hair." And Gwen looked at her and smiled. "Your beauty is not such a fragile thing that it could burn away so easily. Your heart will heal and grow stronger for it, treated with love and compassion. And your strength is not your beauty. Your beauty comes from your strength, and it shines fiercer and prouder and more beautiful than ever. I've seen this in you every day from when we played as children to when I saw you running into the town today. I don't believe that anyone could take that from you. And I don't want anyone to take you from me. And the two young girls walked away to Gwen's house, and they began to find a new and different love, and began to build a life together. And Rosie never let her hair grow into chains again. And sometime still, for years to come, when Gwen and Rosie went to the wildflower meadow on a warm summer's eve, they would hear the jubilant tweets and see the flickering rainbow of exotic birds, once caged and now free.